The tendency of particles to react to confinement with motion implies a fundamental restlessness of matter, which is characteristic of the subatomic world. In this world, most of the material particles are bound to the molecular, atomic, and nuclear structures, and therefore are not at rest, but have an inherent tendency to move about. They are intrinsically restless. When we study the universe as a whole, with its millions of galaxies, we have reached the largest scale of space and time, and again, at that cosmic level, it is expanding. This has been one of the most important discoveries in modern astronomy.
If there is a physical body, there is also a spiritual body.
If the body is not mastered, the mind cannot be mastered. If the body is mastered, mind is mastered.
Human beings have always been fascinated by the interplay and the entanglement of the physical body and consciousness. In human tradition, this intrigue has been captured in the map of the 7 chakras. Jean Marshall provides insight into this historical poetry, transcending and uniting both physical body and consciousness. Jean's use of the 7 chakra model to articulate the evolution of consciousness provides a contemporary energy map connecting the interplay of the physical body and consciousness.
Consciousness is not our pain, pleasure, or passion. These are like rocks in the river of consciousness. Consciousness is a flow through the body and with the body. Consciousness is indeed an enigmatic reality in which all living forms participate to some degree. I have underlined a close correspondence between consciousness and aliveness. Consciousness means at least these 2 things: attentionality or paying attention, and intentionality or making choices. A third aspect of consciousness supports these 2. Let's call it presence. I am rewriting the dictionary on certain key words. Each chakra is characterized as a swirl of consciousness, present throughout that vicinity of organs, nerves, and muscles. Chakra 1 is about survival. Complex single cells evolved at least 3 ways of energizing their aliveness: sunshine, oxygen, and decaying biological matter. Chakra 1 is represented by the color red. Chakra 2 is about sensation. Sensory awareness. We humans are aware beings who are capable of using our enlarged consciousness to notice our sensations and how they are different from our thoughts and emotions. Animal life could not manage its survival without the use of its sensations of the environment and the interior sensations of pain, pleasure, and rest. Chakra 2 is represented by the color orange. Chakra 3 is about imagination. By image, I mean a multi-sensory rerun that has been recorded and stored in the brain's recall system. This is a pre-symbol using mode of mental operation. Chakra 3 is fast-acting, intelligence operating better than our slower-moving Chakra 5 intelligence. As Yogi Berra said, when you are batting, don't think, just bat. Chakra 3 is represented by the color yellow. Chakra 4 is about emotion. Mammals possess a capacity for bonding. Affection, sadness, peace, longing, and much more characterize this powerful development in animal consciousness. Emotions are not permanent states, but passing experiences that come into play, endure a while, and then go away like all temporal things. Chakra 4 is represented by the color green. Chakra 5 is about symbolization. Speech and art communication characterize this world of consciousness. Language and other symbol using is the key to this dynamic of consciousness. A symbol is a mental entity that gathers together a wide set of multisensory images as well as emotional memories into a new mental entity that most importantly characterizes human intelligence. This symbol-using talent has its dangers and drawbacks. Human can create whole universes of thought, conviction, and action, and then substitute each overviews for the actual universe that confronts us in our sensations, emotions, and contemplative awareness. This can lead to estrangement, inauthenticity, and a disrelation with reality, or despair. The human symbol-using consciousness enables this high-powered creature to create a picture or story of his or her own personal self. Chakra 5 is represented by the color blue. Chakra 6 is about third eye intuition. This third eye sees beyond images, symbols, talks and writing, music and sculpture, and other symbol-using expressions of consciousness. I am naming the Chakra 6 level of consciousness with the Buddhist term, no self. That is, no personal self, no actual knowledge of who we are. We have tapped into the full mystery of consciousness itself, so all of our self-images now float helplessly on the jet black waters of pure mystery. Chakra 6 is represented by the color blue-black. Chakra 7 is about awakenment or enlightenment, nirvana, rest in eternity, enchantment with being, profound consciousness. We are essentially this profound consciousness. Chakra 7 is like a firmer embrace of this jet black mystery that makes the sheer unknown feel more lively. Profound consciousness is an empty metaphor that says nothing except none of the above. Atman, as used in Hindu lore, does explore this level of awareness, emphasizing experiences of the inner spaciousness that unites consciousness with the that of everythingness. We touch into our raw participation of that field of consciousness that extends beyond our heads and throughout the cosmos. Chakra 7 is represented by the color white, containing itself all the other colors, all the vibrations of swirls of consciousness.
The word that comes to me that allows me to reflect on that kind of encounter is what is termed synchronicity. Somehow, I was at the right place at the right time to meet that person or to meet this situation. It's always been kind of magical. It's been kind of, wow, isn't that an incredible coincidence, and so on. And I've given up on that explanation. I just have. Not that there is a predestined destination, but I believe that there is a field, again, of energy. There is a field of possibility. We talked a little bit about the imbalances in life. And that at some point, just like an earthquake happens because something finally has to shift, something happens, and then boom, you get that earthquake. So it is in the social milieu, that you can live life as if it wasn't going to change, but pressures are building. Things that you don't know about are building. And therefore there will be a happening, there'll be an encounter. Call it with a mystery, call it with the way life is, but at some point that imbalance will come at you. If you are resonant with that life, that same encounter will come as, here is something that you can act on, that will release that pressure, that will be part of the solution, will be part of the creative process. And I've had many of those happenings that when I look back on, I'd say, wasn't that coincidental? And that's the way I did it early on. just going back to chemistry, and I invented this compound. It was coincidental. I mean, it really, 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 really was. One of the things we used to do is we would get scientific journals from the library. There was no internet, of course, at those points. You couldn't go on and find things. You had to search for things. And so we would circulate the Journal of Organic Chemistry, the Journal of American Chemical Society, the this, the that, and so on and so forth. There was dozens of journals, and you signed up for which ones you wanted brought to your desk, and usually you just scratched your name off and put it in the outbox. You didn't have time for it. But I signed up, and one of them, God knows why, I signed up for was the Swedish Journal of Organic Chemistry. And this one day I picked it up, and I usually just put it in the outbox, and I leafed through it, and I saw this chemical. And I said, that's what I need to make. But it had to be modified to be a stabilizer, an antioxidant. It was not. It was simply a isocyanuric acid, for those who want to look up the term, base chemical. But I said, that might be what I need to make. And that became the crystal. And I've often seen creativity, as I talk about, as like a crystal. See, in chemistry, when you make something new, it tends not to be a crystal. It tends, if you're making organic chemical, it tends to be a goo, because it's never been made before. It's never had a form before. It's never existed before. So it doesn't necessarily crystallize, get into orientation a crystal has to have. And so what you do is you scrape the side of the test tube, and you do all sorts of, you dissolve it and bring it back down and so on, and et cetera, et cetera. And it always has impurities in it which keeps it from crystallizing and so on. But once it crystallizes, once it takes form, then it always crystallizes after that. And not just you, anywhere in the world. If somebody made that chemical, it will not come as a goo, it will come as a crystal, if it's pure. For years, that was known as the crystals in the beard theory. In the 1800s, the chemists would make things, and they would think that, well, what happens was that because it crystals, they get in the beard, and when they walk around, they just sort of disperse in the air, and that's how they become something that something else can build on, Not true. There's a morphogenetic field. I not just believe in, I really know that it happens. So that time and space don't matter. When it happens, that crystal consciousness, if you can use that term, that crystalline reality, is immediately available to any other that is there. That's why so often you'll look in history, you'll find the same breakthrough in consciousness happens multiple places in the world, and they sure as hell didn't get around to talk to each other. There is something, quote, in the air that they latched onto, and that consciousness was available to someone else's consciousness, unbeknownst to them. And that's why we had great movements, because that possibility happens, and you realize this is the time. Call it pregnant time, call it destinal time, call it whatever, time you want. But there is a time for things to happen. So, and it's true in your life. And I believe that what your life is about is being awake, so that when that time happens, at least it doesn't go past you, You damn, isn't it fascinating? I'm talking to this person. Maybe, just maybe, this is a crystal for something. I don't know. I don't know. But that's what it means to live your life out of, quote, what we call live out of possibility. Possibility is about the ability to say each and every situation has within it a seed. And whether you're contributing to its crystallization or its growth or what have you, you have no idea. Maybe it was just all you needed to do was just dump on it and give it a little fertilizer, and somebody else will harvest it. You don't know. I mean, if you live some other way, you think you're the center of the universe, you know. Everything is sort of happening in and through me. That's stupid. But when you're genuinely participating in life, that's the way you encounter, as if everything you do is contributing in a way to this happening.
You are embodied consciousness. Your attention has dropped into the actual physical experience rather than your views and concepts about the body. Turn your attention to your mind states, all of which register in the body, and gradually learn to become non-reactive to each of them. What is given is not your business. It's how you respond that determines your happiness and well-being.
I want to share another thing from the magic shop.
Okay.
And that is, this has been so important to me because it's such a big issue for me, and it has to do with how connected bodies are one to another. Early on, I just love the feeling of being in a choir, right? That sense of ensemble, like I could feel it, and I was like, whoa. That together feeling, or being in a dance, and what happens when your bodies sync up as a whole group. Or I was the president of the drill team in my high school in California, and 100 girls, and we could get ourselves synced up, and it's like what that feels like, when something like that is happening. And then you could kind of reverse that idea, and what am I syncing up to out here? That's so physical, and I love that feeling. Well, over time, I feel like by dancing and by being in my body in a certain way, I learned when I was in sync and when I was out of sync. And I also learned that when I was syncing up with stuff I didn't want to be in sync with, like, it was horrible. Over time, through our practice of improvising, that we could actually be in sync without choreography. Wow, that is so cool. How can that be? Well, now we know that mirror neurons, which are one of the components that they look at in attachment for healthy relationships, mirror neurons are actually the part of us that's creating that in-sync feeling, what we used to call kinesthetic identification, the ability to identify in our body with the movement of another. So if I go like that, or if I go, your body, if we're in sync, will soon start having that feeling, even if you're just sitting there. That is a dance thing, it's an athlete thing. We rely on that in physical arts. But that's a thing that's happening in business. And people are actually manipulating us with this, right? And they are entraining us. They are entrancing us. And they're also, it can be done for the good, right? Because this is how I know that when one body suffers, another body suffers. When one body rejoices, another rejoices. Our bodies are in sync. And we're meant to be this way. And it's when people aren't able to be in sync that there's illness, right? So by dancing or in training that through any physical form, building it up and building awareness about it, we can be more, I think, skillful. And I can actually learn to tolerate being out of sync as a necessary part of the dance. And I can learn how to differentiate and let go of this person being in sync with this person in this way. And I don't have to call that lack of peace, right? I can let go. And that's physical. Again, this is all rooted in physiology. It's not just my idea in my head. So that too this is like a whole other part of this wild and wonderful thing of being embodied and actually knowing, having choices to play with. That is a part of the highest creative form of dance, and just this little thing of like us being here in sync and occasionally probably wondering if we are. Are we in sync? I don't know. So, yeah, mirror neurons, and again, something that science has now proven. But that is trained in the arts.
The fundamental, simple, and great mystical realization is that by which you identify yourself with consciousness, rather than with the vehicle of consciousness. Your body is a vehicle of consciousness.
In the body of Christ, as Paul says, there's no good, better, and best. Everything is important. You can't say you don't need some part of it. So everything human is God texting us. And the senses, you might say, every one of them is the means in which God is communicating new truths, new aspects, showing his love and so on, or inviting us to transcend some of our limitations. And so he's very much has his not only his fingers, but his whole being, you might say, is focused on us, as if we were the only creature there was. His love is infinite. So the present moment, then, you might say, is the computer that God is always texting us. So if we think we're alone, we're mistaken. As long as you have your cell phone and so on, you're in touch with all the world. It's a good symbol of relationship, because in relating to God, you relate to everything that he made. And everything that he made is good. And so this is the kind of conviction or conceptual background that we need to insist upon over and over again. It's being in the presence of God and being able to stay there and love being there while submitting to the difficulties and duties or what happens at the same time.
I can no longer grasp my physical body or my consciousness as the static reality I once thought these to be. Let's go deeper and explore the dynamic flow of the ultimate body,